Hello. Today I'm going to show you how to color your project. We created a one-point perspective North Carolina landscape. I know this is a 1 point because there is 1 point. This is a perspective drawing because it shows depth and it looks like I could be standing on this road looking into space and looking far, far away. And I know that because along this line, the horizon line, everything kind of vanishes, which is why this is called the vanishing point. Vanishes meaning disappears. I chose to do a little bit of mountains and a city in my background because North Carolina, where we live, has mountains and cities. Even my road has something that's big in the front, and it gets smaller the farther it goes into space. I already drew or colored in this one right here, and I made pumpkins that were big in the front. And if you notice in the back, they're just tiny little dots. You can choose. You could do dots the whole way, or you could do pumpkins until eventually they just turn into really small dots. I like the idea of doing a fruit or a vegetable like in the front, and then the farther you get back, just do the dots, just because you don't really have enough room. And like you could call these red berries or strawberries or whatever you'd like. Or you could call them flowers because we also have lots of wildflowers in North Carolina. So anyways, when it goes to coloring them in, what you're going to do is first, well, let me look at the back. So this is the back of my paper. If I use the tip of my marker, the very tip, I'm going to create a very fine, thin line. If I use this side here of my marker, if I use that, I'm going to create a thick line. Now, when I'm outlining these sections of my farm field of flowers or fruit or whatever, which one do you think would be better? A nice thin clean line or a really thick bold line? I'm going to choose the thin line, and I hope you do as well, only because I think it'll help our project be a little neater in the end. The other thing I wanted to show you is using a crayon. You can use crayons many ways. This is probably the most common way, right? Kind of drawing lightly and drawing a bunch of lines, right? There's also this way of drawing neatly but pressing really hard, which makes it look really streaky. Now, if you want a bold color, you can color like this and have it a solid. It just kind of takes a lot of work, okay? And then your third option would be to use, or your fourth option would be use the side of the crayon right here and hold it with 2 fingers like this and make a rubbing. The problem with that is in this project, when you get to these parts in the middle, like really tiny parts, you won't be able to do the rubbing. So for this project, this is probably not the best idea, the rubbing. You need to choose either this one or this one, because this is going to make your project look really streaky and messy. So be careful the way you use your crayon as well as your marker. All right, so now we're going to get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the next section I have and I'm going to outline it. I want to outline both sides. So I'm not going on top of that pink I already have. I'm going right next to the pink because I want this section to be outlined in purple, okay? I'm going to make polka dots on this one. And remember, the polka dots that are here are closer to me. Not as close as this one, but they're much closer to me than these all the way up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make the dots, the blackberries or whatever, big. In the middle, they're going to start to get smaller. Notice I'm not slamming my marker down. That does nothing but ruin the tip. That's why my kindergartners aren't allowed to use the markers. Just keep making them. As farther they get away, the smaller and the smaller your tiny dots become until they go far and disappear into space towards the vanishing point. All right, so now I'm done with my marker. Put it back on it, put in the box for Sharon. And now I need a purple marker or a purple crayon. And I don't have one, so I'm going to go ask another table if I can borrow their crayon. they said yes, of course, because I asked nicely. All right, so now I'm going to color in that row in purple. Make sure you're consistent the whole way. You don't want to go crazy with these crayons. We just want to color in our shape. Pretty cool, huh? And now I can go to my next color, and I'm going to choose blue. I learned to color like this by watching a girl in my 3rd grade class. Her name was Gertrude. And Gertrude always had the coolest, prettiest beads in her hair. And she always had the most wonderful pack of markers and crayons and colored pencils. And I used to be so envious of the way that she colored. And so one day I just watched her. Probably for like 15, 20 minutes. I was probably supposed to be working, but I was just watching her. And I wanted to copy the way that she works and the way that she colors. And she used to do this. She used to outline with a marker and then go back in and color it in with a crayon. And I was always just so admiring her work that I wanted to create art just like it. And so I asked her if it was okay, and she said she didn't mind. And so I would copy and do exactly what she did when it came to coloring. And that's how my artwork is still just really neat and clean. And so I wanted to teach you guys, just like Gertrude taught me, how to neatly and very colorfully color in your project. So I'm going to keep going, and each one of these lines is going to be a different color. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. When I color in the road, remember how I showed you how to do the rubbing? You can take a gray and quickly color in the road. The road should not be a large commitment, because you just color it in. That's it. Gotta go all the way up to that line. And remember, we don't want it to be really streaky. So you got to be careful the way you color it. This stripe in the middle is going to be yellow, because that's the way it is when you're actually driving down the road. And you could do this with marker, but I have crayon, so I'm just going to do it here. Okay? And if I wanted to, I could outline it with yellow and then go back in and color it in just like I did everything else. I'm going to outline the road in gray as well. And that's it. When it comes to doing my skyline, that's totally up to me. My examples I showed you on the board, they're black and they look like a silhouette or a shadow. You could use black. You could use a dark gray color. I saw one student do her mountains in various oranges and greens to make it look like fall. And then she did her city in black and gray. And I really thought that her project just really looked amazing. So if you want to copy that idea in which some things are black and gray and then maybe your mountains are more colorful, that's up to you. If you chose to do the farm, you might just outline it in black, and you really just have to focus on your sky. And you're going to do the sky the same way. Choose the color, or maybe lots of colors. Anyways, have fun, and I'll see you later.